I've seen the blood in the diaper. I don't care if it's freaking pitch black diaper. You can't miss it. Yes, you can. You're lying.
Sir,
what you're doing is lying right now. Did you have not shed one tear for your son? And you're going to sit there and like, I couldn't see it. I didn't know what was happening. That's ridiculous. I'm going to go shed a tear for your son because obviously you don't give a fuck.
On November 11th, 2015, 2-year-old Amari Barnhill was rushed to hospital. His injuries were the most severe the doctors had ever seen. He died of lacerations around his legs and his face. Now the suspect is his father, Darien Head. I do have his police interview, and that was posted on my other channel. Link to that is in the description. In this video, however, I have something different for you. I spoke to Nakisa Barnhill, who is the mother of Amari. She will go into detail about the boy's life and the incident leading to his death. So please listen to her story and then go watch the police interview. So Nakisha, thank you so much for joining me. Now, I believe it was on the 11th of November 2015 where Amari, unfortunately, his life was passed. I want to start by asking you about him as a child. So from the day he was born, tell me, what was Amari like? You're his mother, right?
Yes, I'm his mom, and Amari was the sweetest, most handsome little boy that existed for me. Like, he was funny, he was gentle, he was a gentleman. Like, I was raising him, I almost raised him to be 3 years old by myself, pretty much. And he would open doors for young ladies. He would say, please and thank you. He would be saying, yes, ma'am, no, sir. He was mannerable. He was adorable. He looked just like me. He was the best.
Was he was he like a fussy eater and that kind of thing? What was he like with that kind of stuff?
He was a picky eater.
Yeah.
That about it. Because literally, it was only earlier that year that I even stopped breastfeeding him because he was about 2 years and about 3 or so months.
Well, when did he, like, I have kids myself, so I kind of, that's why I'm asking these questions. But when did he start walking? Was there like the tail end of being one, or?
Yes, because at his first birthday, he literally, we helped him like walk in. It was.
I know. What kind of foods did he like? Like, was he like my son? He loves eating chips, but he likes eating broccoli too. What did Amari like in that regard?
He liked pretty much anything I gave him, honestly. He liked chips. He liked sweets.
Sure.
He liked chicken nuggets. He liked corn. He liked a lot of different things. But if he was not in the mood for it, really, he just wasn't in the mood for it.
Was he potty trained, or were you in the process?
Process.
Yeah. And like, was he into sports and stuff? Like, did he have like soccer balls or American footballs or whatever kicking around or whatever?
Yes, we had like different footballs and stuff, and I was going to put him into football and different things of that nature, because even with the pictures and stuff that I have of him, I believe 2 of the photo shoots that he did, he had a football and a soccer ball.
Okay. So he's definitely like a sporty kid playing with cars and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
How was he with other children?
He loved other kids and playing around. I got several different pictures of like when we would be out at restaurants, he would be trying to play and talk to them and reach, and it's just like, you're so friendly and so cute. I love it. Plus, I had his younger sister, well, now his oldest living sister, from me. She was only 2 months old when he passed away. And we literally brought him to the hospital shortly after she was born. He was rubbing on her. And even when I was pregnant, he would rub my belly and be like, my Ella. And that's just
Wow.
he was very sweet and loving. It was amazing. I felt like I had my perfect pair.
And when I ask you these questions and the memories come back, how does that make you feel? I mean, how often do you think about it?
I think about it constantly, but like right now it's during the holiday season, and it's literally the freaking eighth Christmas that I've had to
Yep.
spend without, and he should be here. Like I hate that life. I hate that I have more memories of
Hmm.
him not here than that I have of him being here, and that he didn't get to meet my husband. He didn't get to meet my beautiful other kids. Like it's just not fair.
Well, if you can, I want to let everyone know you did write a book about him. Um, and what were your thoughts in writing this book?
Um, Actually, I wrote 3 books.
Okay.
It's where I mention him in all 3. But the main one that I wrote about him, which was my first published book, was The Act of Filicide, the Amari Barnhill story.
Sure. Which is that the one available on Amazon?
They're all available on
Okay.
Amazon.
Okay. Great. Okay. Yeah.
And this is where I explain kind of like what filicide is, uh, what it kind of did to me, explaining other cases, explaining his case, and the power that was taken away from me
Hmm.
on November 11th, 2015, which is also my sister that named him. That's also
Wow.
her.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Yeah.
So, even though I had power stripped away from me, I gained a fire and a
Hmm.
power
Hmm.
of a voice that is his voice that I'm going to speak out for him and honor him and remember him every chance that I get until the day that I pass away.
Sure. Sure. Regarding Amari, then, so on the 11th of November, where were you at the time?
I was at home with my 2-month-old daughter, not really knowing what was going on.
Well, as far as when you say that, you mean in the sense that because he was with Darien at his house, right?
Yes, he was with his father,
And to you,
and
sorry, go ahead.
house.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It wasn't his house though.
Was
He
it
It
Danielle's
wasn't
house?
wasn't where I dropped him off. I dropped him
Oh,
off
okay.
originally on November 2nd.
Hmm.
It was about 4 or so in the afternoon, I believe. I don't remember the exact time. That's a rough estimate. But I literally dropped him off after me and my mom went to Walmart. We went out to eat because I had to stop by Walmart in order to make sure I had all of the things to be able to have in his Ed Hardy backpack to make sure that he had what he needed to go to his dad. Me and his dad made an agreement that because I'm working, I had a newborn baby, and I have life and stuff going on, I had a new job, that he was going to be able to get Amari for the first time without me having to be present. And he wanted to be able to have all of his kids because it was his youngest daughter, her birthday coming up. That was going to be I think the 22nd. And he wanted Amari to be there and around for their birthday celebrations and the festivities and stuff. And so I was like, okay, cool. We can make that feasible and possible. He'll probably have to come back home for a little bit, but I'll send him right back over when it gets closer to that date of the 22nd. So he was only supposed to be gone, I think, for like a week and a half. I'm pretty sure it was a week and a
Yeah.
half. And supposed to get him back for a few days, and then he was supposed to go back before the 22nd.
And at the time, how was your and Darren's relationship like?
Non-existent.
Hmm.
Uh, We were not intimate anymore. We were barely communicating. He would get angry and act out on my social media and say that I'm hindering him from being a father, that I'm trying to replace him in my son's life with my then fiance, who was my now ex husband, Ella's father, and other people. And that I need to allow him to be a dad, and basically that he wanted to be a dad and I need to let him. So it was like, okay, you're saying all that? Here you go. We had no custody agreement in
H-
place at that
And
time.
how often do you think about that decision?
Um,
Because it's not your fault. I mean, he in a
Thank you.
se- it's no, but in case you were thinking that, like I can imagine you were thinking throughout the years, why did I do this? But I mean, any other person would have done the same. After, like you said, the relationship wasn't great, but you waited a while and then you thought, the fact that you got the bag ready, that tells me everything. I'm guessing you had his snacks, um, uh, baby wipes, all
Clothes,
that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
bath soap, diapers, what do you call them? Underwear, everything, everything that I could think of. And thank you for saying that it's not my fault. I have had a partner, an ex partner now, and a father who constantly told me that it was my fault. So,
What?
an emotional battle.
What?
Uh, yeah.
Wait, hold on, hold on. Let me envision this. I'm guessing you and him may have gone into an argument about whatever, and then he said stuff like that.
Yeah.
No. I mean, say what you want. You don't go there. No way.
Yep. And you can even read
Wow.
some of the comments, but even on my book, there would be people like, how dare you say that he didn't want to go, but you still sent him anyway, referring to my son. And it's like, because that was his father. He didn't know him really, but that's his father. So yeah, I've dealt with a lot of
So
people.
so so there's been people through anger or whatever who basically said, look, it's your fault.
Yeah,
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. No. No, 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 no. How dare they? That's disgusting. That's despicable. Like I said, again, I preface the context of you two are in an argument, it gets heated, whatever, things get said. You do not say that. You know what I mean? I'm so sorry. You don't deserve that. It's absolutely not your fault. Not your fault at all. But at least now the world knows. That's the point, you know? Um wow. So now from what I read in the police report, Darien called you. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. So
He
and
called me
this is the
because
first time you knew
not
anything.
the thing that's not in the police report is that he called me back because literally, as well as technically, the day that they're saying or the time frame that they're saying that Amari passed away is the 10th,
Mhm.
and it went into the 11th that he was basically not able to be saved. But that he was passing away during the night slash morning of the 10th while him and I were on the phone already because um, it was my day off. Well, my 2 days off. And we were on the phone I was trying to beg to speak to Amari and be able to tell him goodnight,
Yep.
talk to him. I could literally hear his other children, his other two girls in the background. But he was like, Amari's already asleep. So I'm just like, okay. Then he sent me a picture, the final picture that I have of Amari alive. I don't know when it was actually taken, but he sent me the picture of Amari with his two other kids. And that's the last picture that I have of Amari. So I was thinking that he was okay. And um, during the conversation, we were on the phone for hours. it was about 2 or 3 hours, I believe. And then I went to sleep. And then I got a call from him again, telling me to rush to the hospital. But in the conversation that we had late at night, we were on the phone. I agreed I was going to take him off of child support because he was about $11,000 behind in child support. That's the main reason why my ex-husband and my father would tell me it was my fault, is because even though he owed me, even though it's for his child, all of that money, I still let him see him without a custody order in place
No,
or being forced by the court.
you're not thinking about that stuff at the time. What the hell? Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, why
Yeah.
be forced by the courts? But okay, it's his child. Like, for my dad, he owed my mom and died owing my mom child support, and she never kept me from you. So how is that fair?
So this 2 hour long conversation, while he's telling you Amari's asleep, he's telling you you're having a child support conversation. So how does that come about?
It was like he was basically saying like he was apologizing for everything, because literally the almost year at that time from that date to then for why I didn't allow Amari to basically go with him or be around him without my supervision and stuff was because the year before that, Amari had caught pneumonia.
Yeah.
And it was a whole situation between us because he brought him back home in a t-shirt. And the doctors literally told me that night when I took him to the hospital, because he was being very reserved, not being playful, not being himself. And so I took him to the hospital and everything. He ended up being in the hospital for about a week and a half. And they told me had I to the hospital that night, he most likely would have died in his sleep.
Wow.
And so I was like, I can't trust you. And I'm not sure how to handle this. So like then he did put in the time and coming forward to spend like at my house or around me, and him and his sister would come over and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, we can move forward, try to do it. And as well as his sister would come over to my apartment and stuff and basically be the facilitator to take Amari to him and stuff like that. And so that was basically a year of time that passed from there. And he really had to basically earn back my trust because he didn't come to the hospital when Amari was in the hospital with pneumonia. His statement to me was, just let me know if and when my son gets out. And he hung up in my face.
Wow. Okay. So he just didn't want to deal with it. That's really what it is.
Yes. Yeah. So it was like the anger and the hurt from that, I kind of needed to build some type of trust back in him.
Yes.
Just relinquish the child to him. And so during our conversation, he was kind of apologizing for all of that and like saying, he even said like he was proud of me. And then he asked me like, do I wish my daughter was from him instead of my ex-husband? All types of emotionally driven things that okay, you're kind of just trying to divert my attention away from asking about my son again. And now that I'm older and stuff, I realize that. But it's like, at the time, I was following the emotional questions. And so, yeah, it was a very weird phone call to have to process after realizing and knowing what I know now.
Well, so during this phone call is going on, where is Amari really? Is he in the house or is he at the hospital?
He's in his apartment. He's in his I guess now ex-girlfriend's apartment at that time.
But you're unaware of his state.
Yes.
So
and I'm even
go ahead.
where Amari actually is. Because at this time, I'm thinking Darren is at his mother's home. And
Oh, yeah. Where you dropped him off. Yes.
yeah, not on the west side of Jacksonville in apartments. I didn't even find that out until the news, when the news story broke. That's why I kept arguing with people on social media saying that's not my son that they're talking about. He can't be dead.
Oh, right. Yes.
And I kind of found out through social media that my son was even dead. But then I finally was broken the news by a male nurse. So yeah, it was a very complex 2 days.
So okay, so that conversation happens, it ends, and then the next day, what happens then?
Then it's about 7 or 8 in the morning. He calls me back and I'm just like, what's up? What do you need? And he's like, I don't know what happened to our son. He was with my mom and my sister. And all I know is they called me and told me you need to rush to the hospital. I'm just like, using a lot of curse words, being very confused, being very angry. Basically, my questions were, what do you mean? He couldn't really answer. He was just repeating basically what he already said. And he just kept basically repeating that until we pretty much hung up. And I heard his ex-girlfriend now saying something in the background, but I couldn't really make out what she was saying. Just like, what? And then so he also at that time told me the hospital. And I was like, so is Amari okay? He was like, I don't know what his status is or what anything is. You just need to go to the hospital. So I hang up with him. I wake everybody up in the house because at this time I don't live on my own. I have a 2-month-old daughter. I live with my grandmother. I called my mother, who did not live with us at the time, in order to basically have her car and pick us up, and basically also to watch my daughter because my grandma, I think, had something to do that day.
Sure.
And yeah, she was leaving out of town because I believe she left earlier that morning. So, and then I also woke up my uncle as well. He was in the other room. So finally everybody gets themselves together. We rush to the hospital. We're literally sitting there for about 2.5, 3 hours. Darren's oldest sister then walks in, and I'm looking at her like, okay, so if you're here, who's back with my child?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I'm not in the big general waiting area. I'm behind the glass at St. I forget the freaking name of the thing. I think it's like St. Vincent's or something.
Yeah.
I'm behind the glass in the little hallway area, basically waiting for them to talk to me and tell me something or to take me to my son. So I'm just like, what's going on? Then she's able to finally come back and see me because like I look and she sees me being confused. And so she's basically tells them that she's with me. And I'm just like, yeah, she's with me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how are you just getting here? When he said, your brother just said that your nephew was with you and your mom. So is your mom back there? So they're very angry and annoyed. Plus, as much time that it has been, like at this point, even though at that time I was still legally a minor, I'm just like, I know some type of rights and I'm his legal guardian, even if my legal guardian, which was my mother, has to go back there to check on him, or I should be back there if nobody else is, because his father isn't, his aunt isn't, so is his grandmother back there with him? Who's back there with my child? What is going on? Come tell me something, or I'm about to start threatening to sue everybody or putting hands on anybody. And so, I'd say about anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes after that, it's a male nurse who then comes and gets me. And then I'm just like, okay, is it cool if she comes as well? So I'm like saying that his aunt can come because we were crying together. And at this point, I'm more confused. I'm just like, do you know something? When she started crying, I started boohoo crying too. Of like, I don't know what crying about. Like, I know he's in the hospital, but like, how bad is it? What's going on? So I tell her that she can come too. Then my mom just says like, I'm gonna wait and hold back and have the baby. So she gets my daughter. She's in her little car seat and everything, still asleep, perfectly fine. So they're still sitting down. Me and her stand up, and the male nurse doesn't take us in the back. He takes us into this little side room in front of where we were sitting. And I'm just like, okay, Amari ain't in here, is what I'm thinking in my head. So what's going on? So then the first statement out of his sister's mouth is Amari dead? I look at her with rage and confusion in my face, and I'm trying to process, but it's not really clicking. But then I hurry up and look back at the male nurse, and his face just dropped, and he couldn't even say anything, but he just dropped his head and like shook his head no. And I screamed out, "Fuck you mean?" Sorry for this.
You're good. Yeah.
What do you mean no? So then a little fight ensues of me with his sister. I'm hitting her with the little sterile gurney tray thing, anything I can get my hands on, because I'm just like, what? How in the matter of November 2nd to now November 11th, I gave you a healthy, happy little boy alive, and now y'all telling me he cold, lifeless, and dead? How did we get here? Bodyguard, security person let me down. I literally dropped to the floor. I went out. And then when I'm waking up, I was in a little room, I guess, to be like a patient or seen or something. And they were asking me like, am I okay? They had put a blood pressure cuff and stuff on me. And we're like, I know you just got told a very heavy thing, but like, are you okay? What's going through your mind? All that. My mom's trying to check on me and is like, what's going on? And yeah, it was a lot. And then I screamed for the second time. Like, I just kept wanting to scream, but I only screamed twice during that thing. And it's like, whoa, okay, I am 19. I have birthed 2 kids into this world. And now one of them, my oldest one, is dead.
Did they Jesus, that moment. Did they go into detail on exactly how, etc.?
No. So it's during this moment, from this moment to the situation of from here, we basically went to the police station.
Yeah.
To the hospital that we were at was pretty close to downtown. So this is when I start getting information to argue with people of when they're trying to tell me that Amari's probably the case that's on television. And so it was about 6 or 7 family members who told me, because I went to Facebook once I came to and everything, and I was like, this is not any type of joke. I need prayers. I need everyone who's for me to actually be for me, because Amari is dead. And people literally, for whatever reason, continuously thought I was playing. And it's like, if you know me, you know I don't play about my children.
Yeah.
I would say something that extreme. And so the people that knew me, they were like reaching out to me like, what's going on? Like, how? What's the case? Like, all of that stuff. And so I'm just like, I don't really have no details right now. So I just know the last thing that I knew was that he was at his grandma's house and around his grandma, his dad, his aunt. I don't know anything else from there. So this is the information I'm giving out. And then people keep telling me, well, they keep saying that there was a child found at Hollybrook Apartments. So is that him? And like it's matching of that. It was parents and stuff there, and I'm just like, I don't think so. Like he was on north side of Jacksonville, not the west side of Jacksonville. I couldn't get over the location. And so then once we got to the police station, I met Detective Jessica Schaus. I love this woman. I believe she's in a whole nother department now, but I still sort of keep in contact with her, of updating her about my life. Speaking to her and telling her, like, she even got, I believe she actually has all 3 of my books. We've like basically kept a rapport and conversation. And because she was very touched by Amari's case. She was like, that made her very emotional and crying and stuff because of her having her own kids and stuff. And that really touched me. So she was the main person who I dealt with during Amari's case for the legal aspect of the police side. Even the EMTs and stuff that saw Amari when they testified in the case.
In the trial,
not in the trial, because we never went to. In the case for Darien losing paternal rights for his other children. When they came out of the courtroom for that, because I was asked to leave the courtroom so that they could testify and stuff. But when they did finish testifying, they came out and they ended up giving me hugs and letting me know, like, they're very sorry for my loss and stuff. So,
actually, you're right. It didn't go to trial because I believe he took a deal. And regarding him, was there ever a moment where you addressed him, got to speak to him, what happened, etc. after the math, or was it just he was with the police and that's it?
It's kind of just been that he's been with the police and that's been it. I did get to make the victim impact statement the day that he took the deal, which was January 4th of 2017. And that was about it. But he literally did not look at me while I was giving my victim impact statement. He was looking at his family the entire time. Even when he took his plea deal, he did not want to say why he was taking the plea deal and basically allocating himself as guilty. The judge almost had to hold him in contempt of court. And then his response was literally just, yeah, man.
Have you, I mean, I'm interested. Have you ever gone to see him in prison?
No.
Have you thought about it?
For a brief moment, I entertained it, but it's like, why? Why do that to myself?
Have you ever felt you needed closure from him in a sense?
That goes to speak to my 3rd book of Naked and Bare, where at my lowest point, it was literally 2020, basically to 2022. And I literally felt like I was a failure as a mother, a daughter, and a wife.
Why? In what sense? As in, you didn't protect him in a sense? That kind of thing, or?
Yes, I had a failed. I had a failed relationship with my dad who had died, and so it's like that couldn't be repaired at this point. and then for feeling like I failed my son because I wasn't there to protect him. And I'm now speaking out and being kind of a voice for protecting and being there for these other kids, but I wasn't able to listen to a voice for Amari, basically. And that's when I start really blaming myself. And it's like, well, should I have listened to him crying and saying like he didn't want to go? Like, should I have supervised more visits or times, or just not basically been classified as the bitter baby mama and have kept him away? Like, or should I have gave custody to my dad when he asked for it? It's a bunch of things. It's like, would my son still be here with all those other avenues being taken?
Well, no,
So,
you are not a failure. I mean, I can understand you thinking that for sure in that moment. I mean, look at you now. The way you speak with such charisma and conviction, because I can tell you, in a sense, you've kind of made peace with everything that happened. It's
yes.
you've accepted it. I've seen people completely fall apart for a lot less. You should be proud of what you've become.
Thank you.
You are not a failure. Certainly not. Like, as I said, I can connect with you because I have children myself, so I can imagine. You know, you are not a failure. Look how openly and candid you're speaking with this. You're speaking with a level of, not that you've gotten over it, but like you'll never get over it, but you've gotten used to it, and now I mean, just look at the woman you've become. Don't ever call yourself a failure.
Thank you.
Did you? Was it like now when you look back? Was there ever any warning signs from Darien that you thought this could happen? Or
Um, so if me and his other baby mama had more of a communication and been able to be adults and speak, because literally, just like with my now ex-husband,
yeah,
his wife and the mother of his other kids has animosity and this anger towards me because of the middle person we shared, the father.
yes,
And this person carries all this information and carries so much drama to try to push back and forth, when literally if we were able to have a conversation, so much would be solved and so many pieces would kind of be put together. Because over the years, literally about a year and a half ago, 2 years or so, me and the other woman involved, who was there for when she was the one who actually called 911 for my
yeah,
son.
hmm,
When Danielle and I did speak, we apologized to each other for all the things that have been said
yeah,
and done.
yeah,
Um, and we actually are cordial and have a rapport. But had we known all of the things for, oh, well, if I had knew this information, that would make sense. Or if I knew this little tidbit, that would put that
yeah. The red flags, yeah,
And so had I known, because I didn't know about his prior arrests and stuff,
hmm, hmm,
I knew he's been arrested multiple times, but not for why. He would just tell me like, oh yeah, I wasn't answering my phone because I was in jail but he wouldn't go into detail or whatever. I would be thinking it would be because of child support or something, but it would be due to domestic stuff going on with them. And I didn't learn until after Amari was in the ground that he even bit Danielle and hit her and fought her. And there was a whole domestic thing for him taking his other kids away from her and trying to escape with them. And so, had I known that, or had I basically been selfish, because that's kind of how I viewed it. Me and him have had a domestic situation
yeah,
ourselves once,
hmm,
but if I would have known it would have led to Amari being not here, I probably would have continued to keep him away, or
of
would
course,
have
yeah,
reported. Basically, took in every legal avenue that I could in order to do that and legally defend my son, not just off of, oh, word of mouth or how I'm feeling. It's, if you're a danger to him, let me go ahead and safeguard my child. But I thought that was adult issues and
Yeah.
that was just him and I was able to separate that, but I guess he wasn't.
Well, so this will be my final question, and I was going to ask you because the more I read the police report, you mentioned Darien and his physicality with Danielle. Did you ever get to read the injuries Amari suffered?
Not really. It was just where I read the final medical report I got that from the hospital. And like I saw the autopsy photos and the crime scene photos, and that was about it.
Are there any words? I mean, what can you say to that, right?
Yeah, I was basically just disgusted and confused.
How would you like Amari to be remembered? Like like when you think of him now, what words go through your mind?
Strong, because from what I was told by Detective Schaus and the what do you call him? The district attorney on
Mhm.
his account. Amari was being hit since the day that I dropped him off. So he was a strong person, which his name meant strength in African, and it
Mhm.
meant from God in Hebrew. And he stayed true to his name. He was my little Power Ranger, and he loved Power Rangers. I literally had to have a subscription with, I believe it was Hulu at the time or
Mhm.
something,
Yeah.
just and continuously watch his Power Rangers. He loved Power Rangers. I literally have 2 tattoos with Power Rangers for him. And he was the sweetest, most innocent, strong-willed, handsome soul that I was able to bring into this world. He makes me proud to know that I was the vessel for being his mom.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. Um, it actually breaks my heart to know, again, the things that were said to you, people having the audacity, the arrogance to blame you, um, and you feeling like a failure, etc. As much as I understand that bit, no, he was very lucky to have you as a mother. Remember, it's a two-way streak. He was lucky to have you, and look at the way you've honored him. You've written books. You've, in fact, maybe the best way for you to honor him was to raise your daughter the way you have. You know, if you think about it in that regard. So, thank you so much for doing this. The world would now know Amari's story. Um, and one day you'll see him again in heaven. Thank you so much.
Thank you.